We would be honored if you would join us.
Greetings and welcome to another YouTube episode of Film Stories with me, Dan Cooper. We're going to jump right into another part of an interview I did with Stephen Druro, who was the art director on 2018's Sorry to Bother You, one of my favourite films of that year. So we'll jump right in. There is another episode on YouTube already with an earlier conversation I had with Stephen. And as we jump into the interview now, we're just talking about how the art department is responsible for visually representing the film's themes. Here we go. It's the film's themes about. I suppose it's kind of like what will happen when the big corporations that rule our world finally decide that they're going to save us, or in inverted commas save capitalism, and all the kind of terrible atrocities that it leads to. How was it in the first reading of the script that got to you? Was it like you said, working amongst an area which knows poverty? Was it through working with Boots Riley himself? Like, at what point did you start to feel that the themes of the film really begin to take hold and take root?
It's I would say very immediately, because another. Like a lot of the things that happen in the script, a lot of the events, especially for say Regal View, the call center.
Yeah. Like
Boots Riley actually worked at a place just like that in his earlier years, and so I think that having that sort of the realism aspect, the sort of that flavor of this isn't, it's fantastical, but it's a fantastical presentation of the truth, I would say. And so that kind of, being in Oakland, and another thing, sort of a, Boots Riley quickly, he has such a big personality and is such like a sort of character in his own movie, really, in a way, that you spend time with him, and he's like the mayor of Oakland. Like, you walk around with him, and people know him on the street. People say hi. He goes into restaurants, and people know him. And so I think that having that person in charge, having the location, and a lot of the material, all you have to do is walk out the door, and you see Oakland, this crazy city in the throes of gentrification, kind of like happening in front of our eyes. I don't know, that definitely gave us all the textures that we needed, were like right in front of us.
And the settings in the film are so diverse as well. You've got like, as you said, Regal View. You have you've got Cash's garage apartment, which is an instant kind of presentation of the poverty. But then you've got like Steve Lift's mansion in there. So there's, for you as an artist, there must have been a lot of room for you kind of creatively to experiment and show different kind of elements of your concepts and ideas and actual production skills. Did you find any of them more interesting to build and construct and create than any of the others?
Yes, definitely. And this is, I guess, where the sort of the practical limitations of making a movie come into play, because once we start, like, so sort of to take it to the story of the film, like, by the time we started shooting, we had maybe half of our locations locked. We had maybe less than half of the movie figured out.
Okay.
But we had to just begin, and so we had about a week's worth of locations and sets ready to go, like Cassius's garage. And then everything else was still TBD. There was, the mansion that we shot Steve Lift's at was, we didn't know if we were going to get that. The offices where he is a power collar. We thought we were going to shoot that in San Francisco, and then it turned out later we found a place in Oakland. And so then the challenge became not just, it would have been challenging under any circumstances to get the kind of the field right, but under that kind of time constraint where it's, no, we need to figure this out by next week. We need to build this room in a different building, by the day after tomorrow. All of a sudden, that kind of adds a new level of challenge to the thing.
Yeah.
That's even in, my experience in the indie world and in TV was a kind of a whole nother, level of difficulty. And so that, I would say that the craziest set that we had to do, because the sort of gritty realism, the nice thing about that is that's affordable, all you find, and there's plenty of it around in Oakland. The challenge, probably the most challenging thing was the elevator set. So the power collar elevator, which goes up.
Yeah.
It's kind of an important moment of the film too, where it's sort of this, he's made his choice to climb the corporate ladder, or go up in the corporate elevator, and they wanted to shoot it practically. There's obviously dozens of Art Deco office buildings in San Francisco and Oakland, but getting a hold of a lobby of an entire building for a day of shooting is, for the price that we could afford, was not really something, it's just impossible. It became clear, but of course they held out hope that they would find a practical location, and then eventually it came down to the fact that no, we have to build this. But of course it was, well, you have to build it, but we got to build it by Thursday, and this was Sunday night. We had a meeting while we were shooting in downtown Oakland over lunch, during an overnight, and it's yes, this is a go. This has to be constructed, and so we found an empty restaurant. We did have was an empty restaurant space in downtown Oakland, and Jason and I were we can make this work in this restaurant space. And for us, of course, that was basically, once we said that, then we were on the hook to deliver the thing. And so that was by far the most difficult, because we, and at that point, that's where the crew comes in, where the people that you've in turn have hired to work on the show, they kind of, this is kind of their moment when you have one of these sort of down to the wire situations. And so our construction department and our paint department, they, who are all local Oakland and San Francisco people, they really came through for us on that one. And basically, beginning the next morning for 3 frantic days of, almost 24/7 activity, we were able to construct the entire lobby and the elevator with the working elevator doors in this empty restaurant space in downtown Oakland, to the point where as we were shooting the scenes that take place in the lobby, the scenic artists were still on the inside of the elevator, gilding and painting the inside. And so during the take, when the doors open, they had to, hide themselves, press themselves against the walls of the elevator to not be in the shot for the 5 minutes that the door would be open, and then when the doors closed, they could go back to their work.
That is down to the wire. So I hope you enjoyed that little insight into just how desperately fluid and time intensive some shoots can be. Before I leave you, let me just remind you that there's currently a Kickstarter for film stories and magazines. Do check that out. It's going really well so far. Speaking of the magazines, you can order them right now. Film Stories has Brian Blessed on the cover this issue, and Film Stories Junior has also got sort of interesting insights from under 15s writing about film. Don't forget, you've got to sign up to podcasts, a podcast downloader of your choice. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and of course on our website with new updated stories and news every day. I'll see you back here next week on the YouTube channel with more film stories. Bye bye.